Did you know that life is full of surprises? At 76 years old, I learned one thing about time, and especially about people. As we age, it seems like we become more confident, right? We go through so much, so many experiences, that the wisdom of life accumulates like layers of history on our skin. However, it is also at this stage that we become more vulnerable. Confidence, which was once a virtue, can become a trap if we are not careful. I remember one particular day when I was in my 70s. An old friend, one of those I had known for decades, approached me with a business proposal. "It's going to change your life," he said. And I, of course, trusted him. Why wouldn't I trust him? Years of friendship, so many shared memories. But at that moment, I ignored something I had learned over the years. Blind trust. I didn't think to investigate, to ask for more details, to be cautious. That business turned out to be nothing like he promised. And not only did I lose a considerable amount of money, but I also lost what I valued most: trust in a dear person. It was a double blow, both to my wallet and my heart. I realized then that trusting too much can be a dangerous mistake, especially as we age. After all, we often become dependent on the help of others, and it is precisely in that dependence that our vulnerability hides. Over time, I saw many of my friends go through similar situations. Some were exploited by relatives, others by longtime friends, and still others by scammers disguised as good Samaritans. This taught me a valuable lesson that I would like to share with you. Don't be afraid to trust, but be afraid to trust without verifying. That saying, "Trust, but verify," has never been more true. If someone offers you help or a deal that seems too good to be true, take a deep breath and pause for a moment to think. Ask questions, do research, seek a second opinion. Don't feel guilty for wanting to protect yourself. After all, no one will take better care of you than you will. And that is exactly what experience has taught me. I remember another friend, Mr. Kim, a generous and kind man. He always believed in the best of people, something I deeply admire. But in one of those moments of trust, he was led to invest his savings in a fraudulent fund. It was devastating to see him lose what he had worked so hard to accumulate throughout his life. He fully trusted the nephew who introduced him to the business and never thought he could be deceived by his own family. After that, he closed himself off from the world, feeling betrayed and ashamed. Stories like this make me reflect on how aging can make us easy targets for certain types of scams due to trust and the belief that the people around us want what's best for us. This doesn't mean we should distrust everyone. After all, we need each other. But it is essential to be cautious and, whenever possible, verify the facts before making important decisions. Trust should be earned, yes, but it should be maintained based on consistent behaviors. Those who truly love and respect you will not be offended if you want to check information or ensure that you are making a safe decision. On the contrary, the people worth having in your life will encourage you to take care of and protect yourself. And the truth, my friend, is that protecting your peace of mind is worth more than any fortune. Don't let mistakes like this take away what you value most: the tranquility of living your years with dignity, surrounded by people who truly want what's best for you. So, the next time someone offers you help or a deal that seems too good to be true, don't rush. Stop, think, and reflect. Because trust is not something we should distribute indiscriminately, especially at a stage in life when our emotional and financial security is so precious. And always remember, trust, but with your eyes wide open. There is nothing wrong with being cautious, especially when what's at stake is what you have built throughout your life. How life can be silent sometimes. When I was young, I was a person surrounded by friends and family, always involved in some activity. But as the years went by, I realized that life, in its inevitable transition, has a strange way of pushing us into solitude. I remember well when I started to feel this. Visits became less frequent, calls more spaced out, and suddenly I found myself in a silence I had never known before. This kind of isolation is treacherous. It doesn't come all at once. No, it creeps in slowly, quietly. First, you notice that some friends are no longer around, whether because they moved away, aged, or even passed on. Then you realize that you no longer have the same desire to go out, to meet people. And before you know it, you are spending days and days without a meaningful conversation, without that exchange of glances that feeds the soul. I myself felt this firsthand a few years ago. I remember a particularly harsh winter when I spent weeks without seeing anyone except for a few quick faces during trips to the supermarket. The house felt colder and emptier than ever, and although I was used to my own company, loneliness began to weigh heavily. I started to notice something I had never realized before. Isolation affects not only the heart, but also the body. And it's true. The more we isolate ourselves, the more our health suffers. Loneliness not only brings sadness, but can also trigger a series of physical and emotional problems. I saw this happen to so many dear friends, my friend Danilo, for example. He was an active man, full of life, always present at gatherings and meetings. But over time, he shut himself off. First, it was the loss of his wife, then retirement, and soon he completely isolated himself, saying he didn't want to bother anyone. But what he didn't realize, and what many of us don't realize, is that we are not a burden. We are social beings. We need each other to thrive, and isolation is a trap that makes us believe we can live alone, when, in fact, it makes us sick. In Danilo's case, loneliness led to a silent depression, and over time this depression manifested in physical problems. He started experiencing more pain, more difficulty moving, and unwittingly, he surrendered to inertia. When we finally reunited, I saw how much he had changed. That vibrant, lively man seemed dull, as if the sparkle in his eyes had been replaced by a permanent sadness. That's when I realized that I, too, was at risk of falling into the same trap. Ah, how easy it is to let ourselves be carried away by silence. It is very tempting to tell ourselves that everything is fine, that we don't need anyone else, that we are used to being alone. But the truth is that this is the most dangerous form of deception. No matter the age, we all need human connection. So that same week, I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I called some friends and invited them for coffee at my house. At first I thought it would be difficult, that they might be busy or not want to come, but to my surprise, everyone accepted the invitation with enthusiasm. And on that day, I rediscovered something I had always known but had forgotten. Socialization is a powerful way to keep the body and mind healthy. We laughed, talked about old stories, and the house, which had previously felt cold and empty, was filled with warmth again. It was almost as if I had regained a part of myself that had been asleep. The impact was so great that since then, I force myself to keep these connections alive. I no longer wait for others. If I want company, I seek it out. If I miss a conversation, I make sure to call or visit. Sometimes people tell me they have no one around, that everyone is busy, or that they don't want to impose. I understand that feeling. I've been there. But what I've learned is that we need to fight against this tendency to isolate ourselves, even when it seems easier to shut ourselves off. Sometimes, the company we need is just waiting for an invitation. And if there's no one to invite, there are always places to go, groups to meet. It could be a book club, a community activity, or even something simple like a walk in the park where others are present. The other day, I met a lady named Unji in a group for seniors. She was going through a tough time with her health fragile and loneliness weighing on her. But just being there, in an environment with other people, made her feel better. The conversation, the laughter, the simple act of being in company. It was like medicine for the soul. We don't need to go out and make new friends every day, but we should cultivate the connections we already have and not hide from the world. Isolation can be as dangerous a disease as any other, And the cure often lies in something as simple as a hug, a conversation, or even a smile. Don't wait for loneliness to settle in to realize the value of human connections. Socialization is not just a distraction, it is a necessity. And over time, I have learned that emotional health is just as important as physical health, if not more. Who among us as we age hasn't felt the urge to turn back time, to relive the vitality of our golden years? For many, this nostalgia manifests as relationships with much younger people. It is a path that seems promising at first, full of excitement and an energy that seems lost with the years. But as I have learned throughout life, not everything that glitters is gold, and this type of relationship can be much more complicated and painful than it appears. I will tell a story that I witnessed closely. An old friend, Mr. Jun Ho, a widower at 68, decided to get involved with a 30-year-old woman. When he told me, there was a sparkle in his eyes that I hadn't seen in a long time. It seemed like he had rediscovered life, that there was a rebirth happening within him. She was beautiful, full of energy, and made him feel young again. And who could blame him? At 68, any sign of youth can be irresistible, a chance to relive moments that seemed lost. In the beginning, the relationship seemed like a fairy tale. He traveled, dined at expensive restaurants, and spoke of her as if she were a gift from the heavens. But as the months went by, the dynamic began to change. What was once a light and fun relationship started to reveal cracks. Junho began to realize that they had very little in common beyond the initial excitement. He wanted to spend quiet afternoons reminiscing and savoring the calm of life. She, on the other hand, was still at the peak of her ambitions and desires, seeking new experiences and an intense social life. And then, insecurity began to creep in. Junho, who had always been a confident man, started to feel out of place. He feared he was no longer enough for her, worried about the age difference that had once seemed irrelevant. The conversations that had once been easy and fun turned into tense discussions about expectations, and the anxiety of losing that relationship ate away at him inside. I have seen this happen so many times. What seems to be a second chance in life, a new beginning, quickly turns into a source of anguish. And I'm not saying that relationships with younger people cannot work, but it takes much more than desire and passion to sustain something real. When the honeymoon phase passes, the differences in age, mindset, and expectations become more evident. What was an exciting adventure can turn into an emotional burden. The truth, which many of us resist accepting, is that healthy relationships need balance. We need to be with someone who understands us, who shares our worldview, and who is at the same stage in life as we are. This balance is especially important as we age, because we are at a point where mutual understanding and emotional support are essential. There is also another aspect that we often overlook, the fear of loneliness. That fear is an old acquaintance. Loneliness can be one of the greatest challenges of aging, and in our quest to fill it, we sometimes make decisions based on desperation. Many of my friends have sought relationships with younger people as a way to feel alive, to push away the idea that they are aging and that life is slowing down. But what they didn't realize is that this type of relationship, when based solely on the desire to avoid loneliness, often brings more pain than happiness. Going back to Mr. Junho's case, the relationship with his young partner ended bitterly. He, who once felt rejuvenated, ended up more tired and insecure than before. It wasn't just the breakup that hurt him, but the feeling that he had lost part of his dignity by trying to be something he was no longer. The lesson he learned, and that I share with you now, is that we should not try to find our youth in others. Youth is a state of mind, yes, but it is not something we can force through unbalanced relationships. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that age defines who we can or cannot love. But we must be realistic about what we seek in a relationship. We need someone who understands us, who is willing to share the good and bad moments of life genuinely. Sometimes, in the eagerness to relive our youthful years, we end up drifting away from what we truly need. A genuine connection based on mutual respect, understanding, and most importantly, acceptance of who we are and where we are in life. In my 76 years, I have seen many stories like Junho's, and some even sadder. Friends who, by getting involved with younger people, not only lost their self-confidence, but also their ability to love again. It's as if, at the end of the relationship, they were left empty, feeling like failures. But this does not have to be your fate. Love knows no age, but maturity teaches us that it must be built on solid foundations. And sometimes, the best relationships are those that happen with people who are on the same journey as us, who understand the challenges of aging, and who also seek the peace, tranquility and companionship that this stage of life offers. So, if you find yourself tempted to seek something that seems exciting with someone much younger, I say, reflect carefully. Ask yourself what you really want. What do you hope to find? Will this relationship bring the understanding and support you truly need? Throughout my years, I've learned that true love is not in the fleeting sparks, but in the steady flame that warms the heart day after day. And that flame, my friend, is fed by mutual understanding, respect, and acceptance of who we are in all our phases of life. How I wish I could go back in time and take better care of my health. If there's one thing I've learned in my 76 years of life, it's that the body never forgets what we fail to do for it. When we are young, we have the feeling that time is on our side, that vitality will never run out. But as the years go by, what once seemed indestructible starts to show signs of wear. The problem is that often these signs appear silently and treacherously, and if we are not attentive, they can turn into serious issues. Let me share a personal experience that taught me a valuable and harsh lesson. In my 50s, I felt quite active. Of course, I no longer had the same vigor I had when I was younger, but I was always busy with my work, my family, and I confess that I thought I was in good health. I was always one of those who said, "Oh, I never get sick." Little did I know that often health issues don't appear all at once. They accumulate, like small cracks in a wall that can eventually crumble over time. I was so focused on all the other areas of my life that I began to neglect something fundamental: regular medical checkups. I'm feeling fine. I don't need to go to the doctor, I would tell myself. I always had an excuse: work, commitments, or simply the laziness to go through checkups that in my mind only served to confirm what I already knew, that I was healthy. Only I was wrong, and the price for that neglect was high. One day I began to feel a slight pain in my back. At first I thought it was something normal, maybe the result of poor posture or a bad night's sleep. But the pain persisted and gradually began to worsen. The discomfort that was once subtle became constant, to the point where I could no longer sleep properly. That's when I decided to see a doctor. I had some tests done, and that's when I received the news I never expected. I had a kidney problem that had been developing for years, silently, without me realizing it. The treatment was long and exhausting, and I knew I could have avoided all of that if I'd just paid more attention to my health. This episode made me reflect on how life can change suddenly, and how many of my friends and acquaintances have also been caught off guard by health issues that could have been prevented. Neglecting health is not an error exclusive to youth. The truth is that as we age, many of us fall into the trap of believing that small discomforts are part of the natural aging process. Because of this, we fail to give proper attention to the signs our body sends us. Make no mistake, I'm not saying we should live obsessed with diseases, but it's crucial to understand that prevention is the key to a long and healthy life. Regular checkups are not a waste of time. They are a way to ensure that we are in control of our well-being. A doctor's visit, a blood test, or a simple blood pressure check can make all the difference. I remember another story that marked me deeply. My friend Hye Jin, a lively and enthusiastic woman, had always been in great shape. She was the type to take care of everyone around her, but she forgot to take care of herself. At 65, she began to feel inexplicable fatigue, something that didn't seem normal for someone as active as she was. But instead of seeking help, she ignored the symptoms, thinking it was just the natural wear of age. Only when the fatigue became unbearable did she decide to see a doctor. Unfortunately, the diagnosis was serious. Hee-jin had advanced stage cancer. The news devastated all of us. She, who had always been so strong, was now fighting for her life. And the saddest part is that if she had undergone regular exams, the cancer could have been detected early, and the outcome could have been different. This was a painful reminder for all of us in the group. We cannot neglect our health, regardless of our age. The truth is that as we age, our health requires more attention than ever. We can no longer afford to ignore small symptoms or postpone that doctor's appointment. We need to listen to our bodies and act with prudence. After all, we are living longer, but the quality of those extra years depends on how we take care of ourselves now. And this applies not only to physical issues. Mental health is crucial too. How many times have I seen people close to me suffer in silence with depression, anxiety and stress, thinking they were just phases or problems they could solve on their own? The truth is that aging can bring many emotional challenges. Feelings of loss, isolation, or even the sense that our worth has diminished over the years can affect us deeply. And ignoring these feelings can have a devastating impact on our overall health. Therefore, instead of falling into the trap of neglect, I say, let's take care of ourselves with the same love and attention we give to others. Get your routine checkups. Visit your doctor regularly. And above all, don't be afraid to ask for help, whether to deal with physical or emotional issues. There's no shame in taking care of yourself. Today, I am much more aware of my health. I stay informed, get regular checkups, and I'm always attentive to the signs my body gives me. And this gives me a sense of control, that I'm doing my best to live fully and healthily. The truth is that aging can be an amazing experience if we take care of ourselves, and it's never too late to start. Prevention and care are our greatest allies on this journey of aging with wisdom and dignity. And I, with all the experiences I have lived and the mistakes I have made, am here to remind you, take care of yourself. Your body, your heart and your mind deserve that attention. If you've made it this far, congratulations. It's a sign that, like me, you recognize the importance of taking care of your physical and emotional health, especially as we age. But this journey is far from over. What did you think of the tips and experiences I shared? Do you have any questions? Or would you like to share your own story? Don't forget to leave in the comments where you are watching us from and your opinion on the content. Now, before you go, I want to invite you to be a part of this amazing community we are building together. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos. Give it a like if you enjoyed the content. And of course, share it with those you love. They can also benefit from this valuable information. The more people spread this message, the more lives we can positively impact. And here's an unmissable tip. A link to the next video that you can't miss will appear on the screen now. Click there and find out how to keep your life healthy, active and full of joy, regardless of age. Let's go together on this journey.